I doxed myself because I told everyone where I lived because my old house, by the way, you can figure out where I lived. I lived right behind a Jack in the Box next to a Starbucks. And there was sushi right there. And I talked so much about the food around my house
that people found you?
Knew where I lived. We had to move. People were knocking on our doors.
Big Boy neighborhood. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, man. Now, let me tell you, we have a very funny gentleman in the neighborhood, man. Been watching this guy for years. I think it was a Rams game where I actually saw him take his shirt off.
Yeah, that's right.
In person.
With my daughters.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Bert Kreischer in the neighborhood. Bert, welcome to the neighborhood,
I've made it. I told you that when I walked in. I've made it.
Hey,
I've made it. I sat. When I first came out to L.A., me and my buddy Croy, who's passed, we would listen to you every single morning. Right. Every single morning. When you guys would do prank calls, Croy would cry. I watch him cry laughing. We both grew up in Tampa. And I remember him saying to me one time, what do you think would have to happen in our careers that we would get to do this show?
No,
and I was like, I don't know. I'm going to get emotional because that's how, and I was like, I think we'd have to be movie stars, I guess.
Right.
Because we're not going to put out albums.
Right. And you were like, you do have other people in there, so we don't have to be black. Man, so are you in L.A. now?
I'm in L.A. I live in L.A. I've been in L.A. forever, nice. And my wife listens. I mean, it's just, yeah.
That's crazy because I remember I saw you over at, I think it was a Rams game.
It was a Rams game, and I lost it. When you said hi to me, I went, you know who I am? I lost it. I lost it.
My boy Eric was like, and that's Eric Blake, comedian as well.
Yeah.
And Eric was like, you got to get that picture. And I'm like, dude, he's at a game. You know what I'm saying? And then I guess we both dropped our guards, And I'm going to tell you, man, I don't know how long you've been in L.A., but I was once 500 pounds, right?
I watched the whole Will Smith bet.
Man, yeah.
That's how long I've been
And also, I want to get into your Will Smith story, too, because I think we all have a Will Smith.
I got a lot of Will Smith stories. I got a lot of Will. Listen, I love the guy. I know he's getting trashed up and down.
Right.
I'm a ride or die. He discovered me.
Yeah,
he found me in a comedy club.
Okay, you know what? Let's go there.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's go there, because I can talk about my fat self in a few minutes.
I remember when he gave you that bet.
Tell me this Will Smith story with you.
Listen. Will, I apologize if you don't like any part of this story.
Uh-oh. This is when you know it's real.
Yeah.
But listen, you just tell your stories, right? So I was doing stand-up at the Boston Comedy Club. A guy named David Tochterman saw me, who worked for Will, and he said, I think Will would like you. And he was like, we want to do a development deal out at Overbrook. So why don't you meet Will and see if you guys get along? If you do, you can do a sitcom. So now I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Will since a kid. Like I'm talking. I legit listen to his music. Nightmare on My Street. I legit listen to his
nightmare.
music. He was a
on My Street. Yes.
I loved it. So, and I watched Fresh Prince of Bel-Air with my dad every Monday night. I'm a fan. Mm-hmm. When he made it into movies, that's my guy. I rooted for him. I'm like, yes, we did it, Will.
Yeah.
So he, so I go out to the studio. It's I think the Hit Factory or something up on Upper West Side, and they got two folding chairs in the middle of a dance studio, and I know right. And so they go sit in one of these. Will be in a second, and Will comes in. I'm talking a ball of energy. You know Will. He's a hurricane of personality.
Yes.
First thing he said to me is one love, gave me dapped me up, and then I'm off to the races. I love hip hop. Okay, so I'm off to the races. I know everything about Tupac, Biggie. I'm like going off. I the big time Juvenile was blowing up at the time, so I had a joke about Juvenile. I'm just running everything about hip hop. I'm like, and Will's like, yeah, man, and I'm like, I love you, and I love black people. You're black, right? And he's like, yeah.
What do I have to say here?
Jesus Christ. So he goes, man, and it's me talking for 30 minutes, and then he goes, I like you. I go, I like you. And he goes, what are you doing tonight? I go, nothing. He goes, let's go to the movies. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And then he just leaves. And I was like,
cool.
Man,
are we really going to the movies or not?
Yeah. And then someone comes in and goes, we'll meet you at Planet Hollywood at 6 o'clock. And so I was like, okay. So I get in the car. I call my dad. I go, he goes, how'd it go? I go, great. I go, I think he likes me. He's really? He goes, yeah, we're going to the movies. My dad's like, huh? He goes, on a date? And I go, no, what? Just you and him, and I was like, I don't know. And he's like, you didn't ask any questions? I was like,
no, it's Will Smith.
It's Will Smith. We're going to the movies. And my dad goes, oh, buddy, I think he wants to have sex with you. I'm like, what? And he goes,
And your dad is not in Hollywood?
not at
Okay,
all.
gotcha.
He goes, it's called the casting couch.
Yeah.
And he goes,
He's telling you.
And he goes, and these movie stars, it's very common knowledge. These movie stars get so bored of having sex with beautiful women.
Right.
The only thing that turns them on is the look on a young guy's face when they turn him. And I
Right.
go, are you being serious, Dad? And he goes, oh, I don't know. What's more likely? The fact that you're so talented that the biggest movie star in the world wants to make a sick out of you? Or that he's tired of having sex with women? And I was like, oh, Dad, what do I do? What do I do?
Stop.
I'm like, I'm 10 minutes out. So my dad goes, you show up, buddy. You show up for
Right.
real. He goes, I could be wrong. I could be right. I don't know.
Right, yeah,
He goes,
that's
you're
how
my
it
only son. I don't want to send you into war. I'm prepared. So I show up to Planet Hollywood at 6 p.m. And even when I get to Planet Hollywood, this is a weird place to see a movie. Is this a prank?
Right.
I go to the lady. I says, I'm here to for Will Smith. She's like, oh, in the back. I'm like, shut up.
Right.
It's the mannequin. It's the mannequin. Men in Black. And I'm like, no, the actual Will Smith. And she looks at me and she goes, buddy, movie stars don't come to Planet Hollywood. Like, you're not going to. Harvey Keitel isn't here to have dinner. Movie stars. And I'm like, yeah, that does seem weird. I go, I'm supposed to see a movie.
So you thought they had the wax figure like the mannequin back, like you know how they have
Yeah. I go, is there a movie theater here? And she goes, no, we don't have a movie theater at Planet Hollywood. And I was like, okay. So I'm like, I guess I'll just wait. She goes, yeah. So I'm waiting. And then, as you know, a big dude, about 6'7", literally peeks his head out of a corner of a door coming out of a corner, named Charlie Mack.
Yeah,
and Charlie Mack says, you Bert? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, downstairs. And I'm like, I can have sex with this guy too. Like, this is a big dude. Like, should I let him go first, maybe? And,
and you know, on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, that was Charlie that was spinning him on his head. So you're like, oh my God, is he gonna spin me?
So then he takes me downstairs to a room probably as big as this with curtains all around and a folding table on one side. And in it are 10 other black dudes all just staring down. Now, you guys don't know what it's like when you're a white guy and you're the minority. You don't make a lot of eye contact. You kind of just like, hey, what's up, guys? How you guys doing? And just, I'm like, oh, I'm doing this. And no one's really talking to me, and they're talking to each other, and I don't really know anyone. All I'm thinking is, this is going to be 13 black guys I got to have sex with.
Right,
it's going to be Charlie Mack. I'm sure he's bringing Jazzy Jeff. Will Smith. He's 10. This is going to be a long night. This is going to be a long night for me.
Right. Is this how I get into business?
So this is a casting couch. It's going to be long. Sure enough, Will Smith comes down on time, and he's like, hey. He goes, guys, this is the guy I was telling you about. This is Bert. And I was like, here we go.
Yeah, man.
And then the curtains behind me open up, and it reveals a private movie theater. And Will looks at me, and he goes, hey, man, grab a seat. Grab me 2 seats. I'll get you a drink. What do you want to drink? And I was like, I don't know, whatever you are. And he was like, Long Island iced tea. He's like, you like shrimp? I was like, yeah. He goes, they have great shrimp. I was like, okay. So we ate shrimp and drank Long Island iced teas and watched American Pie and watched the whole movie. And the whole time I'm like, this is nothing what my dad said it was going to be. This is just awesome. This is everything you'd want it to be. Will's got his huge laugh next to me. It's a great movie.
Yeah,
it's American
man.
Pie,
Yeah.
right? It's American Pie. We watch him have sex with a pie. All of us in the room. It's awesome, right? And then the movie ends, and he goes, so what did you think? And I said, it was great. And he goes, no, what about the room? I said, what do you mean about the room? He goes, the guys in the room. I was like, are there black dudes?
Right.
And he goes, no. He goes, you said you were a hip-hop fan. Look around. That's Cool Modine.
Oh,
That's
no.
Biz Markie. He had brought all the stars of hip hop. He had called them up and had them come down to meet me. And I'm like, I could have had sex with Biz Markie.
I could have been just a friend.
Just a friend.
That is hilarious.
He taught
bro.
me everything I know about this business. He took me and pitched movie or TV shows with me. And we sold it to Fox.
Yeah.
But he showed me how to pitch. He took me into a bathroom where I got gun shy and couldn't pee next to him.
Right.
And he was talking and he's peeing the whole time. I'm like, just pee, just pee. And he goes, and he said to me, just be yourself in the room. Make sure you yourself. Like, have fun. And if you're having fun, they're having fun. And he taught me everything I know about the business. And obviously, now having said that, I'm a comedian. I all the stuff that went with Chris. It's hard.
And that's torn, bro. Because Bert,
torn.
I'm in the same position. Like, Will Smith also changed my life.
Yeah.
And that's one of them things where you're like, man, it just sucks.
Yeah, it does.
You know what I'm saying? It just sucks because I root for both of them. And of course, you're a Chris Rock fan. You're a Will Smith
Chris Rock's
fan.
the reason I got into stand-up.
See?
Bring the Pain changed my life. When I saw that, I went, that's what I want. And I hadn't been written up in Rolling Stone magazine yet, but I went, that's what I want. And then as luck would have it, I get written up in Rolling Stone magazine. They ask me what I want to do. I say stand up. I try stand up for the first time, and for whatever reason, and everyone in this room knows, because we're all doing something we love. But when you get that feeling where the thing you love, you're kind of good at, it's like, it must be what pro athletes, Tom Brady must have felt like as a kid. And so I started stand up, and then I knew Tony and Sherrod, his cousin, as I started. And so Chris is the
Is that Tony Rock?
Tony Rock.
Yeah, man.
Tony Rock. Chris's family is just as funny as Chris. I mean that sincerely. Tony Rock is a hard dude to follow on stage. Their other brother, Jordan Rock, is hilarious. Dude, that is a funny damn family.
Hey, how did you get into comedy, though? Because, there's one thing when people say, oh, you're funny. And there's a whole different world of being like funny and being a comedian.
Yeah.
There is a total difference. Were you always the funny guy growing up?
I was an athlete all through, probably like a meathead all through high school. And then a frat boy in college. But in college, there was something when you're an athlete and you watch people take sports seriously and you're better than them, but you're not competing at your level. You just, I quit baseball, went to walk on to Florida State, and I just walked off the first day.
Walk on, walk off. Huh?
Yeah, and then got high in the dorm room and listened to Pink Floyd and time traveled. And so I just never went back to sports, and I kind of mocked it a little bit and found my comedic voice. I started being funny in the fraternity, being the funniest guy. People were like, "You're the funniest guy I know." And then Rolling Stone magazine wrote a 6.5-page article about me, calling me the #1 party animal in the country.
How in the hell does Rolling Stone know about this college dude on campus?
No, they were trying to write an article about the school.
Right,
because Florida State was the #1 party school.
And you stood out.
And they just called a bunch of people, and everyone said my name.
Yeah.
So I was going to be his chaperone and show him around the school, because I knew everyone. I've been there 6.5 years. So, yeah. You know it's time to leave college when you have less hair than your teacher. So,
hell yeah.
So I took him around, I partied with him, and then when they went to write the article, the editor of Rolling Stone, Jan Warner, was like, let's just make it about this kid.
Wow.
Like, let's just, and so like all of a sudden, game changer.
Because when you said that, they asked you about Chris Rock, and you said, I want to be a comedian. I'm like, okay, well, how did he get this article? Because at that time, you weren't a comedian.
No, I wasn't.
Wow.
I had said, I'd seen Bring the Pain like one of my senior years, like my first senior year in college, and it was just a game changer. And I said, when they did the article, at the end of the article, I said, I'd like to be a comedian. Like, maybe that's what I'll do with my life. And then a radio show put on a comedy night in Tallahassee. So funny. I just did the Amalie Arena in Tampa, where the Lightning play. And Derek Brooks was there. I'm a huge Florida State fan. Derek Brooks played for the Bucks, played for FSU, and Derek Brooks was like, I was at the first time you did comedy.
Wow.
I said, are you serious? He goes, at Potbellies. I did 30 minutes, just literally stream of consciousness, and murdered, and was like, I'm going to go to New York and be famous. And then 6 months later, Will Smith discovered me.
What does that feel like? Because that's one of those worlds where it's totally you. You can't pass it off to somebody. You can't put the mic out there and somebody finish your joke. So when you go in and you totally alone, were you comfortable your first time on stage?
I'm better alone. But the only thing, like, I'm not a good improv guy. I'm not a good share the mic. I don't listen.
30 minutes of material?
No, I just talked for 30 minutes.
Right.
It was just, and I can talk funny. I can figure things out on stage without any material. It doesn't mean it's great, but I can cheat it with energy. I can cheat it with personality.
Right.
And I think I just did that with very little material. And then, but what's interesting about that alone thing is that, and this stinks, is like when you guys get celebrated as like the #1 radio show in LA, you guys all get a moment where you're like, we should go to dinner, we should high five. Great job, everybody. I remember the first time I sold out a theater in Boston, the Wilbur. I was backstage and I was like, so I guess it's just me. It's like a really deflating moment. You're like, way to go, big guy.
Right, yeah.
Like every time you're about to go on stage, like I did the Amalie Arena, I'm doing just arenas right now on this tour, the Tops Off World Tour. And it's just arenas, and you got to like crouch down before you get on stage. And I look up and you see the name TD Gardens. You see it up there.
Yeah.
It's moving. It's a little emotional, but I don't get to share it with anybody.
Right.
It's just me going. I always thank God. I'm like, hey God, thanks for throwing me in this situation. This is I may never be here again, but at least I got here once. It's a blast.
You still get that feeling, Bert?
Yeah, I get emotional. Yeah. I'm emotional very easily, and so I like at Boston. They popped up. I mean, like they popped up quicker for the standing ovation than I had ever seen. It just went like, whoom, and it caught me off guard, and I realized that I'm doing the Boston Garden, and I started crying, and then they're like, then they cheer louder, and then when they cheer louder, you cry harder. In Tampa, my parents are in the skybox, and I screened the trailer to my movie. I leaked it.
Yeah,
I got it from Sony, and I was like,
my own stuff.
They're like, do not play this at your show. And I said, I just want to show it to my parents.
Right. Not knowing that your parents were in an arena.
So I put it on the jump up drum. I was like, Mom and Dad, it's up there.
Hey man, when you're in college and you want your kids to go to college, what do your parents say when you're lollygagging for like 6.5 years? You quit college, you walk on, you walk off. Do they believe this comedic dream?
No. That they were good about all that. When the rubber hit the road was when I was on my 26th birthday. I had moved to New York. I wasn't doing anything. I was just partying. I had this article behind me.
Yeah.
Oliver Stone optioned the rights to my life. I thought I was going to be famous because I was famous in Tallahassee, and losing fame's really hard to deal with, especially back then. And on my 26th birthday, my dad called me up, and I thought he was wishing me happy birthday. I was hungover, and I was like, I'll just answer this call, say happy birthday. I'll go back to bed. I was like, what's up? And he was like, you're an embarrassment. And I was like, what? And he goes, I just perjured myself in court. The judge said, how's your son doing? And I said, fine. I've never perjured myself. I should have said, he's a piece of trash. He's not doing anything he says he's going to do. He has no humility. He has no work ethic. And he'll never succeed at anything in his life. And it's my fault. And I went, hold on. I go, it's my birthday. And he goes, yeah, I know it's your birthday.
Damn.
And he gave me a break-off speech. And he said, if you want to be a man, if you want to go for your dreams, then you'll go to the comedy club and you'll do whatever you can to get on stage tonight. You'll mop up. I go, Dad, that's not how it works. He goes, that's not how it works for you. But let me tell you something. That's how it worked for Chris Rock. That's how it worked for a young kid trying to get on stage. Is they don't have a father to help them out and give them money to live in New York. They do whatever they can to succeed. So you go do that. So I remember saying to him, but I have a party plan tonight.
It's my birthday, Dad.
He goes, you don't deserve a party. What are you celebrating? You're nothing. You have nothing in life. What are you celebrating? And I went, all right. So I canceled the party, took myself to dinner, wrote out 26 goals for my 26th birthday. I still do that to this day. And then went to the comedy club and said, I want to be a comedian. And they told me to move back to Florida. And I went, all right.
Well, who told you to move back to Florida?
This guy, Louis Schaefer.
Like at the
club.
Wow.
He was like, you're never going to be a comedian.
Why do I know that name?
You don't.
I don't. Okay,
no, you don't.
Okay.
No, you
okay.
don't. He used to out of New York, but he lives in London now. And so I went home. I met up with myself from friends at a bar. I called my dad the next morning, almost excited to prove him wrong. And my dad goes, good. I said, what? And he goes, good. You've met adversity. Now I'm going to show you how to deal with it. You go back to that club tonight, pretend you never even talked to him, and you say the exact same thing you said tonight. I go, Dad, I'm going to look like a fool. And he goes, and you tell him, you're going to be doing this every single night until you get an opportunity. That's what perseverance looks like. So I went back to the club. I was like, hey, my name's Bert. And he goes, yeah, I know who you are. I thought I told you to move back to Florida. I go, listen, dude, here's the deal. Yesterday was my birthday. I haven't had a party.
Right.
My dad picks up a piece of trash. Like, can I give me something? Like, I do. And he goes, if you can bring in 25 people off the street and get them into the club, I'll let you go on at the end of the night. And so I brought in 25 people. I brought in one group of Puerto Rican dudes. One guy was going to prison the next day. I was bringing in anybody. And they ruined the show. They brought him. I sat him in the front row. One guy's going to jail the next day. Prison. And they started heckling, and they heckled this girl and made her cry. And these are
your guests.
And then he goes, yeah. The guy goes, hey, you said you want to be a comedian. You're up. And so if there's anything I could do, it's ball bust, because I was in a fraternity house. So I I grew up in Tampa where everyone's Puerto Rican and Cuban. So I lit these dudes up, just crushed. They got up and walked. I was like, have fun in prison. Right. So the place goes nuts. I didn't have any jokes. And then the guy was like, you got a job here. Called my dad the next day. I was like, Dad, it worked. I'm working at this club. I got to stand in the street every night on West 3rd in between Thompson and Sullivan. I got to bring in people. If I can bring in 25, I get $25. I get beers downstairs, and I can do stand up at the end of the night. And then 6 months later, Will Smith walked into my life. David Tuchterman walked in, saw me, and was like, I think you're hilarious. And I'd figured out some jokes. They were all jokes like I can't remember one of the jokes. One of the jokes, but Will liked them because they were like pranky jokes. One of my jokes was Me and my buddy Dimitri Martin. Dimitri Martin's like a real comic.
Oh,
he's like a real comic. Like, but then he was just my buddy. We got on a train going uptown one time and as soon as we get on, all of a sudden 100 black dudes get on, like 100 at the same time, and I'm like, I don't think this is where we're going. And Dimitri goes, "What are you talking about?" And I go, I think we got on the wrong train. And he goes, "No, we didn't. It's just they're all going somewhere." I go, "No, this has got to be. Are we going to Harlem?" It's like my first week in New York. I go, "This isn't the right train." And he goes, "It's the right train. You're gonna be fine." And I go, I'm getting off." And he goes, "Do not get off." I go, "I'm getting off. This is the wrong train." I get off, and Dimitri stays on. And before the train took off, I stuck my head in the subway. I go, "Dimitri, I'll see you at the rally on Thursday. White power, my brother." and these black dudes lost it.
Right.
I heard one guy go, "Run, Forrest, run!"
Hey man, was it different coming from Tampa because like that's a finishing school getting to New York where it's like,
oh yeah,
that's like sink or swim, bro.
Well, it's proximity. Is that for New York was I'd never been that close to people. Like I'd never
Right.
And that was the biggest thing that threw me off about moving to New York was like people are right here. You never do that. You never. Maybe in a bar, but like you don't wake up and then someone's like right in your face.
Yeah, man. And transportation wise, walking wise, crossing the street, like
dude, all that was overwhelming, and the stand up was so beyond anything. I really got my lunch money taken from me when I moved there, but I like failure. I like to learn, and I don't mind failing, and I don't mind looking foolish, and I also don't listen to a lot of people. I just listen to myself.
When your dad told you that, you took that as fuel and energy as opposed to having that just tear you apart?
Well,
on your birthday?
That's a fantastic question. So I also am overly self-correcting. So when he told me that, I applied that to everything. This humility thing was the number one thing. My dad had a motto. It was eat shit, cash checks. That was my dad's motto. He goes, "Buddy, you're lucky to be where you are. There's dudes digging ditches. You're lucky to be where you are." So when I was at Travel Channel for about 8 years,
Jesus Christ.
I know, and at the end, I'm like 43 years old, and my dad's like, "So what's going to happen with you?" And I go, "Well, hopefully I get another Travel Channel deal, and eat shit, cash checks, right, Dad?" And he goes, my dad starts crying, and he goes, I think I messed you up." He goes, humility works for guys like me who don't have talent. And he goes, when you have talent, you don't have to be humble. You can stand up for yourself. And he said, "You have talent." And my dad said, "Buddy, if you don't go for what you want in this business right now, I will have failed you as a father." Ooh, I'll get emotional. God dang it. And so, and then randomly, the next week, I'm at the Comedy Store, and Bill Burr and Rogan tell me that my Travel Channel show sucks. And they're like, "You need to get away from that, man. You should just podcast and do stand-up." I was like, "For real?"
Hey, man.
Yeah.
You came into podcasting early.
Very early. I got lucky. I got really lucky.
And what year did you start?
Oh, probably.
Because you're over a decade now.
Yeah, probably 2010.
Dude, did you see this coming? Because even us in radio, right?
Yeah.
There were times in radio was like, they do a podcast. Or we would call podcasting, or it was called the graveyard.
Yeah.
Those are people that can't get radio jobs. Now people don't want radio jobs.
Yeah.
People want podcasting, bro. So when you get in early in 2010, around that, who are you talking to?
It was funny. You'd bring that group was like those are like the ride or dies.
Yeah.
And so I saw it happen because I would do Rogan's podcast, and then I'd go to Columbus, Ohio, and dudes had just listened to that episode.
Gotcha.
And they'd be like, and they would be thick. I remember when I did Rogan, the second time I did it, I told the machine story.
Right.
For everyone that doesn't know.
And please tell them if you can. Yeah.
I got involved with the Russian mafia when I was 22, and we robbed a train. And so it's based. My movie's based on that. It's a good story. But what happened was Rogan's like, "You need to tell this on stage," and I was like, "Oh, it's not a stage story. It's like a radio fun off-air story. It's not a stage story."
Right.
And he goes, "No, it is a stage story." And then he said to his fans, "Wherever you see this man, he is only to be known as the machine from this point forward, and you are to yell it out at his shows until he tells it. Make him tell it." And so that next week I was in Columbus, Ohio, and they were yelling the machine through my whole set. And I was like, "Guys, I have 10 minutes left. I'm not telling it." And this guy in the front row goes, "Hey man, we know it's not going to be good. Like but you got to tell it to get it to be good. Right, guys? And this is like a whole room. They're like, yeah, come on, Bert.
Come on, Bert.
And then this guy goes, well, fake laugh. So I started telling it, and it sucked. When you're a long form storyteller, and I think a lot of people say they're storytellers, but anyone that knows like a 10-minute story is a commitment, especially when it sucks up front, and you got to figure it out. And it took me like a solid year to figure this story out, and then probably 2 more years to get it good. And then, I've told it all
if
my shows.
If I knew that you worked with the Russian mafia and robbed a train, I would laugh anyway. Because I was like, who does this guy know?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like, I sold my movie on it. Like I do it every night, every show I ever do. I'll tell this. It starts off with when I was 22 years old, I got involved with the Russian mafia, and then you hear I go look until while they're still cheering, I'll still tell it.
Hey man, and that's got to be like the person that have their hit record. You know how you waiting for it, and then when you finally go, has there been a night when you don't do it and people ask like, what happened?
Once, one night I did 3 shows on a Saturday, and I got done, and on the 3rd show I was just like, I'm done. And I didn't tell. I just thank God I got off stage. The manager came back and he goes, we have a bar full of angry customers. I was like, what? And I walked out and there's about 60 people in the bar. And they're like, dude, you didn't tell the machine. And I was like, I know I did 3 shows. I just figured I could maybe not tell it. And you just looked at people. And I identify with this. He goes, I brought like 5 people to hear this story.
Oh, yeah.
Like I got all all the guys from work. Dude, we got to hear it. And so I sat at that bar that night in front of 60 people, had a drink, and I told the machine story beginning to end to just a room full of people in a bar. So, and ever since that night, I've told it every single show.
Hey, man, I remember when we watched Gabriel Iglesias over at the Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
And he said, all you got to do is look at him and say, I was there. You know, and you got 60 people that was so privy to a conversation. Like, it's 60 people that can say, man, he told me this story in this environment. I was there. No matter how many times you tell it, there's 60 people that it's extremely special to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's Gabriel's like, he's so impressive, man. That guy just is.
Do you have comedian like colleagues? Do you get along with comedians?
Tom Segura, Rogan, Joey Diaz, Ari, Joe Coy, Gabriel. You know, comedy's closer than it's ever been.
When did you know you made it? Because and there's small make it.
20 minutes ago.
20 minutes ago. That is so great and flattering at the same time.
That's sweet.
This is just it's especially as like a white comic, I just never thought I would get the opportunity to be on here.
Really?
Just because it's like, I don't know, you have such big stars in just hip hop alone that you could fill this slate with. That I was just. Media's also changed
we were looking for you, bro.
Yeah.
We were looking for you. And I always tell people, I say, man, the neighborhood is not to skin you in, it's agreeing to get in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we just we extremely have fun with people.
We know that as fans, but as fans, I think people would be shocked at what I listen to.
Right.
And so and I even now I keep my mouth shut because I don't want to sound like an old head, you know. Like,
right.
But like I don't say anything.
Just saying old head let me know that you're into hip hop.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound like old head.
I just now got into Migos.
Yeah. Hey man, how did the taking your shirt off start? Because I'm telling you, man, when I was over 500 pounds, all the way up to. I celebrated. My billboards, I was up there with my shirt off.
Yeah.
I would do shows and pull my shirt off. How did that start for you? Because I heard a story.
What was the story?
Did it start for you in college?
Oh, no. I mean, probably, yeah.
Right.
What was the story you heard of in college?
Like, were you running for like fraternity?
Oh, yeah.
But I'm pretty sure you're already taking your shirt off before that.
Oh, yeah. So I had never had Florida is like a shirtless place. Like that is a shirtless place. And so shirts would come off super quick. It was the move.
Right.
Second someone's like, hey, I got mushrooms. You're like, shirts off.
Yeah.
I remember that St. Patrick's Day. I got 8 mushrooms, sat on the back of a Vespa backwards, high, driving through the campus with my shirt off, just going, life doesn't get any better than this.
Not at all.
Yeah. But I ran for one. I don't like seriousness. I don't like politics. I don't like, my thing has always been, I like funny stuff. I don't like when cattiness shows up. And so for our elections at school, there would be a bunch of cattiness going on, and people would take it really serious, and they'd say horrible things about each other, and they were supposed to be friends. So one year, to take the cattiness out of it, I ran for Exchequer or whatever it was called. And I didn't have a speech prepared. I just got totally naked.
Yeah.
And I just, off the top of my head, just came up with a speech, and I performed a speech totally naked, and it killed. It killed hard because I never broke character. I just like these are my. I wish I had my PowerPoint worked, but it doesn't.
Right.
And so I did it. And it
So
was
that's
funny.
the nothing to hide speech. Right.
That was my platform.
Wow.
That was my platform. So then the next year there was another one, and there was a guy, Josh, who was running unopposed, and my buddy Brent Bracken's like, "You should go." And I said, "Oh, if I do, I think I'm gonna shit my pants." And he goes, "What? You should do that." So I went, "What?" And he goes, "Just go up and take a crap on a pizza box, and just don't say anything." And I was like, "Done." So I go back, I get naked, I have a tie on, and this is, and so I go up. And everyone, as soon as I come out naked, the place goes bananas. 180 dudes, bananas. And I'm like, I don't say a word. I just turn around. Now, what I didn't expect is when you go number 2, you also go 1. That's why they call it 2. It's
right,
1 plus
right.
another 1.
Lord have mercy.
And the current sitting council is facing me now, and I just peed all over their feet because I started. So they thought my joke was to turn around and pee on them. And they're like, "What are you doing?" They didn't realize what was happening behind me. And people were, no lie, diving out of windows, gagging. And it was way more aggressive than anyone planned. It's like if you ever been invited to a porno set and you're like, "That'll be fun." And then you see it, you're like, "Oh God, this is a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot of smells here. Like, what's going on? Did everyone shower?" And so I do it. I had to clean it up. I threw up cleaning it up. And I was like, it'll be legendary. And then they go to do the votes. And they're like, this guy, Charlie Erdman, goes, "Hey, are you being serious? Are you really running? Because you won by a landslide." I said, "What?" He goes, "No one voted for Josh. They all voted for you."
Oh, my Lord.
Josh stands up and he goes, "What? No one voted for me?" He goes, "This is bullshit." And someone in the back goes, "No, it's Bert shit." Yeah.
Oh, my God,
Yeah.
Bro.
That's who I was in college. And so when this Rolling Stone guy found me and heard stories like this, he was like, "Oh wow, this guy's different."
Hey, man, could that work today, Bert? Right? Yeah. You think so? On college?
I've gotten better too. I think I can do it a lot better. I think people would really be impressed with my skills.
Hey, man, it's crazy because when you fast forward to comedy now, man, and just the world, everything is cancel culture. Everybody's sensitive. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just wondering, could that same turning around, taking a crap, could that have worked today? Because we are so different now, bro.
Oh, it's gotten horrible. I look at cancel culture like I do sharks. If you didn't have sharks in the ocean, it's not you don't have the thrill. You know, like you kind of need the sharks. And look, they're scary. They're out there, but how often do you see people get attacked? Right? So you just deal with cancel culture is like just pull your feet up every now and then.
Right.
And just go, yeah, it's probably not going to kill me.
Is that in your head ever?
No.
Really?
No.
Wow.
I don't think about it, but probably to a fault. I don't think. I think everyone knows that my intention was to make you laugh.
Right.
And I think anyone that sees it as something else probably isn't my fan. And all I really need to do is make sure that I think a lot of people
satisfy your fan base.
I think a lot of people get canceled for behavior that isn't is disingenuous to who they said they were. So I think that's where a lot of the cancel culture that we see in comedy shows up. Like when you say you're one thing and then everyone finds out you're cheating on your wife or doing something like that. That's where I think it shows up. I'm pretty much who I say I am. I'm really open and honest.
You continue to peel off a lot of layers, man.
To a fault. I share everything. I share everything about my family. I share everything about my wife.
Hey, man, with Netflix, your newest special, Razzle Dazzle. Man, like for one, I've been a fan. I've looked. I know that you've always, you include your family. And then there's just times where I'm like, man, do you have to run something past either your daughters or your wife, like, or do they just
this special?
Yeah,
there was one joke my daughter made me take out. She didn't like it, and then, but like I mean, the last special, I definitely should.
And you took the joke out.
Yeah, I took it out. I offered $10,000 first
to keep it in.
Yeah, and she said no, and then I was like 20. She's like no. I said $100,000. She goes, "Dad, when you die, I get your money anyway."
Right? Yeah. She was like, I can wait.
Yeah, what do I wait 5 years?
You offered her 10 to 100,000.
I was like, It was a great joke, but she had said it to me in private. And so you know when you say something like kind of off color to someone and everyone laughs, but then in taken out of context, everyone's like, "Well, what's wrong with that person?" And then she didn't want that. And she also, anonymity is.
And how old is she?
I don't know. She's 16. If she's listening to this, get your driver's license.
Yeah.
So she, but she just didn't want it in there. And then, my last special, I talked about her period.
Right.
About her getting her period. And I definitely didn't run that by her. And at first she was like, "Yo, what are you doing?" And then all of a sudden emails started coming in for little girls going like,
"Wow,
thank you for letting your dad talk about this. I was nervous about having my period, and we threw a period party, and it was fun. And we didn't tell my brother why he was there, and I named my period Doug."
Right.
I'm so mad that they didn't have those growing up. When I heard that joke, I was like, I missed out.
What, the period party?
Yeah.
Oh, man, you can still host some, though.
I guess so, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know how sometimes when people, when they finish with prom, they'll go and get other little girls and take them to prom and they take them,
That's
you
true.
can do period
I
parties.
could host a couple.
You should do a comedy night, a period comedy night.
Yeah.
And just have women, and you guys all get on your same cycles together.
Yeah, there it is. You know how you mirror and it's like.
That is true.
Hey, man, write that down in that little box that you have right there. Write that down.
Okay.
Hey, man, when I'm watching Razzle Dazzle, which is now, it's available
Right now
for
on
you
Netflix,
right now.
yeah.
There it is. And when you did the escape room, I had a chance to talk to my team. I did the escape room with my family.
Yeah.
And, bro, I'm super dad. Yeah. I was so frustrated in there, bro. And my daughter was like, "Oh, Daddy, get us out of here." She always say, "Dad got a big brain." It came to a point where I was like, "Let me out this motherfucker!" Like, you making me look like the clues and all that. This drawer pop open, this thing, and I went in, I think, over analyzing everything too.
I way overanalyzed it.
Yeah.
They had a rotary phone.
Yeah.
And I was like, this has got to be a clue.
Yeah.
Georgia and Isla are like, "Is it a bomb?" I go, "No, it's a phone. You've never seen one of these?" They're like, "Dad, don't touch it. It's going to blow up." Yeah, I was overanalyzing it.
I'm literally looking at the time. Then you're like, "Yeah, give me a clue." All right, you need a clue? Like, yeah, you know. All right, yeah. I'm like, oh my God, bro. And that's just some things that, growing up as black people, I didn't know what an escape room was. And even here, an escape room, how old is an escape room?
They're new.
Yeah.
The one I did is over on Lankersham.
And was it really like somebody's house?
It's a real escape room. It's a real escape room, and the dude has video of it.
Of you?
He had video, and I go, can I get the video? At the very end of the thing, they were crying laughing. Their group was crying laughing. And he goes, "That is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life." Him and his buddies that helped him do the escape room. And I said, "You guys videotape it?" He said, "Yeah, we videotape it." I said, "Can I have it? Because I'd love to post it on socials." And he's like, "Yeah." And then my dad goes,
"Oh, no.
Well, if you post it on socials, then everyone's going to know how to get out of this escape room." And the guy's like, "Oh, yeah." I go, "What are you doing,
Hey,
Dad?"
man, your dad couldn't say that in the car?
Yeah, what the? And so, but it's a real escape room. I think it's on Lankersham, over by the In-N-Out on Lankersham, up by there.
Oh, yeah. In North Hollywood.
Hey, man, you just did Fat Man directions. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man.
That's how I tell her where everything is.
Yeah. And that's me, too. Like, all right, you're going to go down, man. You're going to see a McDonald's. Past the McDonald's, you'll see a Jack in the Box. Now, when you see that Jack in the Box, turn right. But if you see the Burger King, you went too far. You got to come get like, oh, man. When he said Lankersham, we were like, oh, I know where that's at. Right up to 101.
I doxed myself because I told everyone where I lived, because my old house, by the way, you can figure out where I lived. I lived right behind a Jack in the Box next to a Starbucks. And there was sushi right there. And I talked so much about the food around my house
that people found you?
Knew where I lived. People would go, "You live on Agnes?"
Right. Like, how do you know?
We had to move. People were knocking on our doors. They'd be like, "You really live here?"
Hey, man, but
Do
that's
you know how
one
hard
of
it
them.
is to live behind a Jack in the Box?
Oh my God, bro! There's one that I go to allegedly. It's right at an apartment building, and I know all night they gotta sit there and hear 2 monster tacos. You know? And I'm like, and it's crazy because growing up, bro, I've always been a big guy.
Yeah.
I would have loved. Like, I remember one time we lived across the street from a McDonald's.
Oh my God!
Bert, that's where it started. That's where it started, man, where I was like, everything I did, bro, I was at McDonald's.
Bro, I got a problem at McDonald's because what I do is I go in, I give them $200, and all I say to them is, "Razzle Dazzle."
Oh, really?
And then they go, "Huh?" I go, "Razzle Dazzle, whatever you think." And then I watch them load up. I'm talking 20 cheeseburgers, 10 Big Macs, 40 McNuggets. I mean, it is.
Who are you, Donald Trump?
Dude, when we did the Hot Summer Nights tour, we went out during the pandemic. We performed at drive-in movie theaters, and McDonald's would be like, "Can we put up? We'll stay open for your fans when they get done for the drive-through." And I was like, "Yeah, if you can razzle dazzle me."
Yeah.
And I used to get. I mean, we get when Shamrock Shakes are in. Get out of town. If you put whiskey inside that. First of all, you're gonna have acid reflux all night. You're gonna be aspirating and throwing up in your lungs. But man, I have a problem with. I have a problem. I just started steroids today.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that.
Testosterone.
Really?
Yeah. TRT, testosterone. I just took my first shot. I'm really excited.
Hey, man, thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, I'm trying to lose weight.
Really?
I'm trying to lose weight. Yeah, I went to one of those longevity doctors, and there was like they give you all your blood work, and then they give you vitamins and everything, and then they said your testosterone level are low, and it'll help repair your liver. If you've done any damage to it, and I was like, I might have done some damage to
Probably.
it. I mean,
You're like,
let's roll the dice.
You're like, I did shit on a pizza box. There could be some damage there. Not quite sure, but let's run the test anyway.
I travel with a tumbler full of vodka.
What could be this problem?
I think it's my blood pressure medication. It's increased me to 100 milligrams.
Hey man, how are you health wise?
I'm good.
Yeah, because even when I look at Razzle Dazzle, man, you're the good big. You know what I'm saying? Like you fit in a seat. You know what I'm saying? You buying off the rack. Like when I got my surgery, I was severe morbid obese.
Really?
Oh man, and I loved it.
Oh,
I loved it. I wouldn't be here interviewing you now. You know what I'm saying?
You would not. That's crazy. No. That's crazy that if that moment hadn't changed you. What was it, $100,000?
Yeah, it was $1,000 for each pound that I lost, and I lost 111 pounds for charity. Jeez. And then that started me. But Bert, I put that weight back on, and then that's what started me to where I was like, I gotta do something, and it kicked in this whole nutrition thing, and when I got the gastric bypass, even to this day, I'm still learning. Yeah, I'm still learning, man.
So my thing is, my thing is, has always been I work out really hard. I work out every day. I work out really hard. I'm stronger than I've ever been.
Right.
And I just started testosterone. So
when did this kick in?
I cannot
Hell
wait.
Yeah, you're going to be picking up buildings, just grab your tour bus.
Bumping into my wife, move it, nerd. I can't wait. Yeah,
but you know what, bro? We got to wrap up with you, man. I could have did so much more time with you, bro.
My only regret is that my buddy Croy's not alive to hear me on your show. Wow. He would be through the roof.
He knows, man.
Man, you meant so much to us when we first moved out here. You were our go-to. And I don't know if you've ever had that where you have your go-to that kind of, even when you're having a rough day, you're having panic, or you're hungover and you don't want to drive out to the airport. Right. If I throw you on, all of a sudden it gets better.
Man, I appreciate you, brother.
This is a big moment.
Man, I'm
so
glad, Bert, that we had a chance to sit down and do this. Believe that. And come back to the neighborhood. Come back to the neighborhood. Razzle Dazzle is the new stand-up for Netflix, man. Make sure you guys check that out. I had a chance to check it out. I really enjoyed it, bro. And you peel off so many layers, and I'm surprised that your family haven't stabbed you in your neck yet. Bert Kreischer in the neighborhood, Big Boy's neighborhood.